Monica Harris lived in a calm and quiet suburban neighborhood, one of those places where every lawn was trimmed neatly, flowers bloomed in perfect rows, and the streets were almost too clean. The neighborhood's homeowners association, or HOA as it was commonly called, prided itself on rules and regulations, some minor, some quite strict. Monica had always followed the rules carefully. She liked the peace and order, and she enjoyed seeing families feel safe as they walked their children to the park or drove down the quiet streets. Monica was a tall, graceful woman in her late 30s, with a calm presence that made people feel at ease. Her smile was warm, and she rarely raised her voice. She had a son, Ethan, who was 6 years old, curious and full of life. He loved to run, play, and explore everything he could see, always asking questions about why things were the way they were. Monica adored him and made sure he had a safe and happy childhood. Yet, she also knew that sometimes his curiosity could lead him into trouble if she wasn't careful. On a sunny afternoon, Monica was inside her house, preparing some papers for work and planning Ethan's snacks and activities for the rest of the day. Ethan, as usual, was playful and energetic. He asked if he could go to the playground nearby, just a short walk down the street. Monica watched him carefully as he grabbed his little backpack and ran toward the playground. She trusted the neighborhood to some extent, it was familiar, quiet, and she had never worried too much about letting him play outside on his own. But today, something was different. Ethan reached the playground and began swinging, climbing, and playing with other children. The sunlight shone warmly, and he laughed freely, enjoying the summer afternoon. Little did he know, some HOA officials were nearby, walking around the playground. They were part of a group that took neighborhood rules very seriously, sometimes too seriously. Today, they had noticed Ethan playing without an adult and decided to take action. They were determined to enforce what they called the safety rules, even if it meant being a little overbearing. Monica, inside her house, was busy with her work. She thought she had a few more minutes before Ethan would return home. Suddenly, she heard a knock on her door. It was not the friendly kind of knock, it was firm, insistent. She opened the door to see two men wearing badges that identified them as HOA officials. Their expressions were serious, almost stern. Monica's heart skipped a beat. "Is this your son?" one of the men asked, pointing to Ethan, who was standing a few steps behind them, looking a little confused. "Yes, he is," Monica said cautiously, stepping closer to the door. "Is something wrong?" The men exchanged glances. "We need to speak with you about him," one said. "He was seen playing without adult supervision. We need to take him with us temporarily until we can sort things out." Monica's heart started pounding. "Take him? You mean, remove him from the playground? He's just a child. You can't just take him away." The officials insisted that they were only following the neighborhood rules. They claimed it was for Ethan's safety, though Monica could sense that their tone was more authoritative than helpful. She felt a knot form in her stomach as the realization hit her, they were serious, and they were not willing to listen. Ethan, sensing his mother's anxiety, looked at her with wide eyes. "Mom, what's happening?" he asked, his small voice trembling slightly. Monica knelt down to his level and smiled, trying to calm him. "It's okay, Ethan. Just stay close to me. Everything will be fine," she said, though inside, fear was beginning to creep in. She was not used to situations where rules were applied so harshly, especially when it involved her child. The HOA officials attempted to lead Ethan toward their office, insisting that he could not remain on the playground. Monica followed closely behind, her mind racing. She felt anger rising inside her, but she knew she had to remain calm. Losing control could make the situation worse. She wanted to protect her son, and she also wanted to make sure nothing unfair happened. As they walked down the quiet streets, neighbors began to notice the unusual scene. Some paused and watched from their porches, curious and concerned. Monica waved briefly to them, trying to reassure everyone that she had the situation under control, even though her heart was hammering in her chest. She had always believed in solving problems with patience and reason, and she clung to that belief now, even under pressure. When they reached the HOA office, the officials insisted that Monica wait outside while they spoke with Ethan. Monica hesitated. "You can't keep my son away from me," she said firmly. "He is 6 years old. You are not his guardians. I am his mother, and I will not leave him alone with you." The officials remained firm, repeating that they were only enforcing rules and acting in the child's best interest. Monica felt a wave of frustration and fear. She realized that they had completely underestimated her. They saw her as just another parent, someone who would comply without question. But Monica was not the type to back down when her child's safety was at stake. She was a professional, trained to handle high-pressure situations calmly and effectively. Monica decided to step inside the office with Ethan. She wanted to observe everything carefully, document the situation, and make sure no one crossed the line. She kept her voice calm, her posture firm, and her eyes alert. Ethan clung to her hand, sensing her determination. Even at 6, he understood when his mother was serious. Inside the office, the atmosphere was tense. The HOA officials tried to maintain control, but Monica's presence challenged their authority. She asked questions, took notes, and demanded explanations for every action they had taken. Each answer they gave only highlighted how unnecessary and extreme their actions were. Monica's mind worked quickly, thinking about the next steps she could take to ensure Ethan's safety and hold the officials accountable. Despite the tension, Monica never raised her voice. She spoke clearly, politely, and firmly. She wanted the officials to understand that she was serious, that she was capable, and that she would not tolerate any mistreatment. She felt a surge of protective energy as she held Ethan close, her determination growing stronger with every passing minute. Outside the office, the neighborhood was buzzing. Some neighbors whispered to each other, wondering why Monica had not simply complied with the officials' demands. Others admired her courage, recognizing that she was standing up for her child against unreasonable authority. Monica could sense the mixed reactions, but she remained focused. Nothing else mattered except ensuring Ethan's safety and making sure the situation was handled correctly. Time seemed to stretch endlessly as Monica waited, watching, and planning. She knew that she had to handle the situation with both care and strength. Panic could make things worse, and anger could cloud judgment. She had to be smart, deliberate, and patient. Monica's training and experience in high-pressure situations, though not yet revealed to anyone, gave her confidence. She understood the importance of maintaining control, documenting every detail, and preparing for what might come next. Finally, as the sun began to dip lower in the sky, Monica felt a small sense of relief. She had managed to keep Ethan safe and close to her, and she had not let the officials intimidate her. But she knew the situation was far from over. The officials were still overstepping their authority, and Monica needed to take further action to ensure justice and accountability. As she held Ethan in her arms, she whispered softly to him, "It's okay, sweetheart. Mom's here. We'll get through this together." Ethan hugged her back, his small arms wrapped tightly around her, trusting completely in her protection. Monica felt a mix of relief, determination, and a growing fire inside her. She knew that she could not let fear or uncertainty control the situation. She had to act wisely, with courage and intelligence, to protect her son and ensure that the truth came out. The story of this ordinary afternoon sunshine, playground, and neighborhood rules was about to become extraordinary. Monica Harris, quiet, calm, and dignified, was ready to face an unexpected challenge. She did not yet reveal her true identity, but the moment would come when her position and authority would shock everyone involved. For now, she focused on the immediate problem, keeping Ethan safe, understanding what the officials were doing, and preparing to turn the situation in her favor. By the time the evening shadows grew long, Monica had already begun planning her next steps. She knew that confronting overreach and unfairness required patience, careful observation, and clear thinking. Monica had all three. And though the officials believed they were in control, they had no idea that they were about to face a woman whose strength, intelligence, and courage were far greater than they could imagine. Monica Harris stood in the small office of the HOA, her hand gently holding Ethan's as he clung close to her side. The officials had led them inside, thinking that separating them might give them control over the situation. But Monica knew better. She stayed calm, her posture straight, her expression neutral but firm. She did not raise her voice, though inside, her mind was spinning with questions and strategies. "Why did you take him?" Monica asked, her voice calm but steady. "What rule was he breaking?" "He was playing in the neighborhood playground, like he has every day." "I do not understand why you thought this was necessary." The two men exchanged a quick glance. One of them, slightly older and with a stiff posture, cleared his throat. "We are only enforcing the neighborhood rules," he said. "Children must be supervised at all times. He was not, and so we took him here for his safety until we could contact a parent." Monica's heart sank for a moment. She understood the need for rules and safety, but this action was extreme. Taking her child without clear communication, without asking, without even letting her know first, it was unnecessary and frightening. "Safety," she said slowly. "Do you think taking a 6-year-old boy away from his mother without explanation is safety? Do you think that will make him feel safe? Or are you only following rules blindly?" The officials looked at her but did not respond. They expected compliance, not questioning. They had assumed she would panic, shout, or plead, and then they would maintain control. Monica, however, had no intention of following their instructions blindly. She had come prepared in her mind, knowing that calm logic and firm boundaries often worked better than anger or fear. Ethan looked up at his mother, his eyes wide and uncertain. "Mom, will they let me go?" he whispered. Monica knelt to meet his gaze, brushing a small lock of hair from his forehead. "Yes, Ethan," she said softly. "Mom is here. I will not let anyone keep you from me. We are going to figure this out together." Her words were steady and comforting, but her mind was alert, analyzing every detail of the room, every movement of the officials, every possible outcome. One of the men tried to assert control again. "You need to remain calm and understand that we are only doing our duty. We cannot allow you to interfere." Monica's eyes narrowed slightly, but she did not raise her voice. Instead, she spoke in a clear, firm tone. "You have already interfered. You took my child without my permission. You are not his guardians. I am his mother. I am standing here right now. If your goal is truly safety, then the safest place for Ethan is with me. You have no legal or moral authority to hold him against my will." The room grew tense. Monica could sense the officials' discomfort. They were used to parents complying, not challenging them with calm confidence. They were expecting panic or aggression, and instead, they were met with a composed woman who radiated quiet strength. Ethan hugged her leg, sensing the seriousness of the situation, and Monica gently stroked his back, maintaining her calm exterior even as anger simmered inside her. One of the men finally spoke, trying to regain control. "We are just enforcing the neighborhood rules," he said again. "You should cooperate to avoid making things worse." Monica shook her head slowly. "You have already made things worse by taking my child without reason. Cooperation is not simply blind compliance with overreach. Cooperation requires respect, explanation, and fairness. None of those have been shown here." The other official shifted uncomfortably, clearly unsure how to respond. They had never dealt with a parent like Monica Harris. Most people would have cried, begged, or simply left. but Monica was neither intimidated nor afraid. She maintained eye contact, her tone firm but polite, her body language unyielding. As the minutes passed, Monica realized that she had to think strategically. Confrontation alone would not solve the problem. She needed leverage, and she had it. She also needed to document everything carefully. Every word, every action, every unnecessary attempt to control her child would be important if the situation escalated further. She reached into her bag and pulled out her phone, not to threaten, but to record and document what was happening. "I am going to take notes and record this conversation," she said plainly. "I am not doing this to intimidate you, but for accountability. You need to understand that every decision you make here matters, and your actions will have consequences if they are not appropriate." The officials looked uneasy. They had not expected Monica to take such a controlled, thoughtful approach. One of them cleared his throat and said, "That's unnecessary. We are just following rules." Monica smiled faintly, a calm but pointed expression. Following rules without thinking about context or consequences is not justice. And taking a child from his mother without proper cause is never appropriate. You need to understand that this is not a simple situation, and I am not a simple parent to be dismissed. Ethan's small hand tugged gently at hers. "Mom, what's happening?" he asked softly. Monica knelt again and held him close. "It's okay, Ethan. Mom's here. I will not let anyone hurt you or keep you from me. We are safe as long as we stay together." The officials exchanged glances again, their confidence beginning to waver. They had expected fear or submission, and instead, they found a mother who was calm, confident, and resolute. Monica had turned the situation in her favor simply by remaining composed, demanding accountability, and protecting her child without panic or aggression. Monica took a deep breath, then asked another question. "Have you ever considered what might happen if a parent in this situation panicked? If they raised their voice, cried, or became angry, how would that affect a 6-year-old child?" The men remained silent, clearly uncomfortable. Monica continued. "Your duty is not to enforce rules blindly. Your duty is to ensure safety with fairness, understanding, and respect. You have failed at that so far." The room felt smaller, the tension heavier, as Monica's words sank in. She did not need to yell or threaten. Her calm authority spoke louder than any raised voice could. Ethan hugged her leg tightly, feeling the shift in the atmosphere. He could sense that his mother was in control, and that gave him comfort. Finally, Monica decided it was time to escalate slightly, not with anger, but with authority. She reached into her bag again and pulled out her wallet. Slowly, she removed her ID, showing it clearly to the officials. "Do you know who I am?" she asked, her tone quiet but firm. "I am Monica Harris, a federal judge. That means I have spent years upholding the law, ensuring justice, and protecting the rights of every person under my jurisdiction. I am also the mother of this child, and I demand that you return him immediately." The room went silent. The officials froze, their previous confidence gone. They had assumed she was an ordinary parent, someone they could intimidate or control. They had no idea they were dealing with someone with legal authority and knowledge far beyond their expectations. For a moment, they looked unsure whether to apologize, argue, or act. Monica did not wait for their response. She gently lifted Ethan into her arms, holding him close. "You will release him now," she said. "And you will explain why you thought it was acceptable to take a child from his mother without cause. This is not a request, it is a demand for proper conduct." The officials, still stunned, could only nod. They quickly stepped aside, allowing Monica to take Ethan fully into her care. Monica held her child tightly, her calm demeanor never breaking, even as anger and frustration simmered beneath the surface. Ethan buried his face into her shoulder, finally feeling completely safe. Neighbors outside the office had started to gather, drawn by the unusual scene. Some whispered to each other, clearly surprised by Monica's poise and confidence. Others looked on, wondering what had caused such a tense situation. Monica noticed them briefly but stayed focused. Her priority was Ethan, her child, and ensuring that he was safe and secure. As they walked out of the office together, Monica spoke softly to Ethan. "It's okay, Ethan. You're safe now. Mom will make sure nothing like this ever happens again." Ethan nodded, still holding tightly to her hand, feeling the security that only a mother can provide. The HOA officials were left standing in the office, their confidence shaken. They had underestimated Monica Harris completely. They had expected a frightened, compliant parent, and instead they found a calm, intelligent, and authoritative woman who would not tolerate injustice, especially when her child was involved. Monica knew this was only the beginning. The incident needed to be addressed properly, with accountability and consequences. But for now, she focused on Ethan, ensuring he felt safe, loved, and protected. And she knew that the next steps would involve careful planning, legal knowledge, and strategic thinking, all skills she had in abundance. By the time they returned home, Monica had already begun organizing her thoughts. She would document everything, speak to lawyers if necessary, and ensure that the HOA understood the seriousness of their actions. But she also knew that the most important thing was that Ethan felt secure and loved. She would handle the rest with her usual calm and authority, turning what could have been a frightening experience. After Monica and Ethan returned home, the tension in the air began to slowly settle. The familiar surroundings of their living room, the soft couch, the warm sunlight streaming through the windows, the familiar smell of home-cooked food brought Ethan a sense of relief he hadn't felt while at the HOA office. He clung to his mother, still shaken, his small hands gripping her sleeves as if letting go would somehow make the terrifying events return. Monica set him gently on the couch and sat beside him, keeping her arm wrapped around his shoulders. "Ethan, I need you to take some deep breaths with me," she said softly. She demonstrated, inhaling slowly through her nose and exhaling carefully through her mouth. Ethan mirrored her, his little chest rising and falling in time with hers. It was a small, simple exercise, but it helped him feel like he could control something in a situation that had seemed completely out of control. "Mom," he whispered after a few minutes, "why did they take me? I didn't do anything wrong." Monica took a deep breath. She had to choose her words carefully, explaining the truth without making it scarier than it already was. "They thought they were following rules, Ethan. But sometimes, adults make mistakes. They do things without thinking about what's fair or right. That's why Mom is here, to make sure you are safe and protected. And you are safe now." Ethan nodded slowly, though his small frown remained. Monica gently stroked his hair. She knew that reassurance alone wasn't enough. This was a serious matter, and she would need to handle the situation carefully, not just for Ethan's safety but to ensure that such an incident could never happen again. After a moment, Monica stood and went to her desk. She opened her laptop and began typing notes. Every detail she could remember, the time the officials arrived, the way they spoke, what they said, and how they tried to justify taking her son. She documented everything, knowing that accurate records would be critical if legal action became necessary. She also knew that being meticulous and calm now would set the tone for how the situation would be addressed. Ethan watched her for a moment, curiosity mixed with lingering fear. "Mom, are they going to get in trouble?" he asked. Monica paused, considering her response. "They need to understand that taking a child without permission is serious. People have to follow the law, even adults who think rules give them power over others. I will make sure this is handled correctly, so it doesn't happen to anyone else. But the important thing right now is that you are safe and with me." He nodded, his small hands fidgeting with the edge of the couch cushion. "Okay," he said softly. "I'm glad you're here." Monica smiled, a mixture of warmth and determination in her expression. She closed her laptop for a moment and knelt beside Ethan again. "We are going to make sure everyone knows the truth, Ethan. You don't have to worry about anything alone ever again. And I promise, we will turn this into something positive. Mom knows what to do." Once Ethan settled down with a snack, Monica decided it was time to call the HOA office. She needed to speak directly to the head of the association, not the staff who had made such a grave mistake. She picked up her phone and dialed the main office number, waiting calmly as the line connected. "Good afternoon, HOA office. How may I help you?" a secretary answered. "This is Monica Harris," she said, her voice steady and firm. "I need to speak to the president of your association immediately. It concerns an incident that occurred today involving my son, Ethan Harris. I expect to speak directly to the person responsible for oversight of your staff." There was a brief pause on the line. "One moment, please," the secretary replied, transferring the call. Monica took a deep breath and waited patiently. She was not going to yell, threaten, or demand. She had authority, knowledge, and the ability to handle the situation in a controlled and effective way. Within moments, a man's voice came on the line. "This is Richard Langley, president of the HOA. How can I help you?" "Mr. Langley," Monica began, "I am calling regarding an incident that occurred today. Your staff took my 6-year-old son without my consent and without proper justification. I want a full explanation of why this happened and immediate assurance that he will not be subjected to such treatment again. This is unacceptable and must be addressed immediately." Richard's voice was calm but slightly defensive. "Miss Harris, we were only enforcing the neighborhood rules. It was a misunderstanding. We meant no harm." Monica cut him off politely but firmly. "A misunderstanding is not acceptable when it involves taking a child from his parent. You need to understand that actions have consequences, and this action could have serious legal and emotional implications. I am a federal judge. I understand the law, and I will ensure that your staff is held accountable for any wrongdoing." There was a brief silence on the other end of the line. Monica could hear him shifting in his seat. I see. We apologize if there was any misunderstanding. We will make sure to review the incident carefully." Monica continued. "Apologies are not enough. I expect a formal written explanation, detailing the steps your staff took and why they believed this action was justified. I also expect measures to prevent any similar incidents in the future. Additionally, I will be documenting this incident fully and consulting with legal counsel to determine appropriate action." Richard cleared his throat. "Yes, Miss Harris. We understand. We will comply." "Good," Monica said. "I also want to make it clear that Ethan is not to be contacted or approached by your staff without my presence. Any attempt to do so will be considered harassment and reported immediately. Is that understood?" "Yes, Miss Harris." "Understood," he replied, his voice more subdued. After hanging up, Monica returned her attention to Ethan, who had been quietly watching her from the couch. She knelt down and explained in simple words what had happened. "Ethan, I have made sure that no one from that office can come near you without me. They have to follow the rules, just like everyone else. And I am going to make sure that no one ever does this to you again." Ethan nodded, relief washing over his small face. "Mom, you're so strong," he whispered. Monica smiled, brushing his hair back gently. "Strength isn't just about being big or loud, Ethan. It's about staying calm, thinking clearly, and protecting the people you love. That's what I did today, and that's what I will always do for you." Later that evening, Monica sat at her desk again, typing a formal letter to the HOA president. She detailed every aspect of the incident, including the time, location, actions of the staff, and the unnecessary distress caused to her child. She also outlined her expectations for corrective action, including training for staff, a formal apology, and confirmation that her son would not be approached again without her consent. As she worked, her mind wandered back to the faces of the HOA staff, the surprise and discomfort on their faces when they realized they were dealing with someone with authority and knowledge. She felt a small sense of satisfaction, not in revenge, but in the justice of the moment. She had protected her child and set a clear boundary that would prevent future abuse of power. Ethan, now calmer, played quietly nearby with his toys. Occasionally, he glanced up at his mother, his eyes filled with admiration. Monica felt a deep sense of responsibility and determination. She knew that as a parent, as a federal judge, and as a protector of justice, her actions today would have lasting impact not just for Ethan, but for the community as a whole. As night fell, Monica tucked Ethan into bed. "Sleep well, Ethan," she whispered. "Mom is here. You are safe. And tomorrow, we continue to make sure that what happened today never happens again." Ethan closed his eyes, comforted by her presence. "Good night, Mom," he whispered. Monica stayed by his side for a moment longer, watching him breathe steadily, finally relaxed after the day's ordeal. She knew that tomorrow would bring more steps, more decisions, and more planning. But for tonight, she allowed herself a quiet sense of accomplishment. She had faced an unexpected challenge, protected her child, and upheld justice in a situation that could have easily spiraled out of control. Before going to bed herself, Monica reviewed the events one last time, making mental notes for the next steps, documenting everything, consulting with legal counsel, drafting letters of accountability, and ensuring the HOA staff understood the seriousness of their actions. She also knew that she needed to prepare for any potential backlash. But Monica Harris was not a woman to be intimidated or frightened. She was calm, strategic, and ready to act when needed. And as she turned off the light, she felt a quiet but powerful certainty: no one could ever take Ethan from her or manipulate her through fear. She was his mother, his protector, and a federal judge. That combination made her formidable, and she intended to ensure that justice was served. The next morning, Monica woke early, feeling a sense of purpose. She had slept restlessly, her mind replaying the previous day's events. She thought about the HOA office, the staff who had caused her son so much distress, and the formal letters she had prepared. Today, she would take further steps to ensure that justice was done, and that her family, and others in the community, would never face a similar threat. Ethan was already awake, his small figure sitting at the kitchen table with a bowl of cereal. He looked up as Monica entered, and a shy smile spread across his face. "Good morning, Mom," he said softly. "Good morning, Ethan," Monica replied warmly. "Did you sleep well?" "Yes," he said, still rubbing his eyes. "I had a little scary dream, but I remembered you were here, so it wasn't so bad." Monica nodded, understanding. Even when children are safe physically, fear can linger in their minds. "That's okay," she said. "Sometimes our minds make little movies of things that happen, but we can always remind ourselves of the truth: you are safe, and nothing can harm you while I am here." After breakfast, Monica sat at her desk with her laptop open. She reviewed the formal letter she had drafted to the HOA president, making sure every word was precise and professional. She had carefully described the incident, outlined the inappropriate actions of the staff, and listed her expectations for corrective measures. She added an additional paragraph emphasizing the emotional impact on her son, noting that children's safety and well-being must be a priority in any community organization. Once she was satisfied, she hit send. The email delivered her message clearly and firmly. Now, it was time to prepare for the HOA's response. Monica knew they would try to justify their actions, to downplay the seriousness of the situation, or perhaps even shift blame onto her or Ethan. She had to be ready. By late morning, her phone rang. The display showed the HOA president's name. Monica picked up, her tone calm but authoritative. "Mr. Langley," she said, "I received your response. I would like to set up a meeting today to discuss this matter in person. It is important that we address the seriousness of your staff's actions directly." There was a pause on the other end. "Yes, Miss Harris. I can meet you at the HOA office this afternoon. I believe that would be appropriate." "Very well. I expect your staff involved in the incident to also be present," Monica said. "This meeting is to review the events and discuss measures to prevent future occurrences." "Thank you." After ending the call, Monica prepared Ethan for the outing. She knew it was crucial for him to feel safe and supported, even if he wasn't directly involved in the meeting. She packed a small backpack with snacks and toys, explaining gently that they were going to visit the office, and that she needed to speak to some adults about what had happened. Ethan nodded, his little hands clutching hers. "I'll be brave, Mom," he said, his voice filled with determination. "I know you will," Monica said, smiling. "You are already very brave, Ethan. Just remember, Mom is here, and nothing can harm you." When they arrived at the HOA office, the atmosphere was tense. The receptionist looked nervous as Monica entered, her presence commanding respect without raising her voice. She greeted them politely but cautiously, clearly aware that today's meeting would not be ordinary. Richard Langley, the HOA president, was waiting in a small conference room. He rose as Monica entered, offering a strained smile. "Miss Harris," he said, "thank you for coming." Monica nodded politely. "Thank you for agreeing to meet," she replied. She motioned to Ethan. "This is my son, Ethan. He is here to observe, not participate in the discussion. I will be speaking for him and for his well-being." Ethan waved shyly, and Richard's expression softened slightly. Monica took a seat at the head of the table, opening her laptop to review her notes. Richard gestured for the staff involved to sit. Two men and one woman entered, their expressions a mix of unease and guilt. Monica began. "We are here to discuss the incident that occurred yesterday, in which my son, a 6-year-old child, was taken by your staff without my consent and without any valid legal or procedural justification. This action caused significant distress to my son and has serious implications for your organization." One of the staff members attempted to speak, but Monica held up her hand politely. "Please, let me finish," she said calmly. "I want to make this clear, taking a child without parental consent is not a minor mistake. It is a serious violation. You need to understand the impact your actions had and take responsibility for them." Richard cleared his throat. "Miss Harris, we were following what we believed were community rules. We did not intend to harm anyone. It was a misunderstanding." Monica leaned forward slightly. "Intent is not enough. The outcome was that a child was frightened, separated from his parent, and placed in a situation that was completely inappropriate. As the president of this organization, you are responsible for the actions of your staff. It is your duty to ensure that all actions comply with the law and prioritize the safety of the community." The staff members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The woman spoke up, her voice low. "Miss Harris, we did not realize the severity. We only followed instructions from the office." Monica nodded, her tone still firm but fair. "I understand that, but following instructions does not absolve you of responsibility. You have a moral and legal duty to question actions that could harm children. This is a lesson I hope you take seriously." She opened her laptop and displayed a timeline of the incident, showing every step, the time the staff arrived at her home, their statements, and how they attempted to justify removing her son. Richard and the staff studied the timeline, their expressions increasingly concerned. Monica continued, "This meeting is not about punishment alone. It is about accountability and ensuring that no other child is subjected to this kind of fear or danger. I expect written explanations, formal apologies, and documented steps to prevent future incidents. This is not optional. Your organization must take corrective action immediately. Richard's voice was quieter now, almost apologetic. Miss Harris, we will comply. We understand the seriousness. The staff involved will be disciplined and retrained, and we will issue formal apologies. The community rules will also be reviewed. Monica nodded. Good. I will review the documentation once completed. I also expect confirmation that these steps are followed. I will remain in contact until I am satisfied that the matter has been fully addressed. The meeting concluded with Monica providing instructions for submitting the written statements and follow-up measures. She stood, looked each person in the eye, and said, "Let this incident be a reminder, children are not property of organizations or adults who claim authority. Safety, respect, and responsibility must come first. I hope you all take this lesson to heart." As Monica and Ethan left the office, the tension she had felt earlier shifted into a quiet satisfaction. She had stood firm, demanded accountability, and ensured her son's safety without losing her composure or integrity. Ethan walked beside her, holding her hand tightly. "Mom," he said quietly, "did we win?" Monica smiled. "We didn't just win, Ethan. We made sure that everyone understands what is right and wrong. That is the most important thing. Today, we turned a bad situation into a lesson for everyone." Ethan's small smile grew, and Monica felt a wave of pride and relief. She had faced a challenge that could have overwhelmed many adults, but she had handled it with clarity, authority, and love. She had protected her child, upheld justice, and ensured that the HOA could not repeat such mistakes. As they returned home, Monica reflected on the day. The experience had been stressful, even frightening at moments, but it had also reaffirmed her confidence in her own abilities. She had taught Ethan an invaluable lesson, that courage is not always about fighting with strength alone, it is about standing up for what is right, speaking with clarity, and protecting those you love. Ethan climbed onto the couch after a warm lunch, cuddling with his mother as they watched a calm television show together. Monica let herself relax for a moment, appreciating the simple joy of her child's laughter and the normalcy of home life. She knew that the battle for accountability was not yet completely over, but she had established her authority and set the tone. And as she watched Ethan play, Monica felt a quiet certainty: she would always protect him, guide him, and ensure that justice was served whenever it was needed. Nothing, and no one, could take that away. The days following the meeting were filled with follow-ups. Monica returned home each day to review emails, phone calls, and messages from the HOA. She made notes on the responses, carefully checking whether their commitments were being followed. She knew that promises on paper meant little if not paired with real action. Her role as a mother and as a federal judge gave her both the patience and the clarity to handle the situation carefully. Ethan noticed the seriousness in his mother's face, but he also saw her determination. One afternoon, while they were in the living room, he asked, "Mom, will they really do what you told them?" Monica smiled softly, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead. "Ethan, some people need reminders and clear guidance to do the right thing. But yes, I will make sure they do what they promised. That is my job, just as it is my job to keep you safe." The HOA had begun its internal investigation. Staff members were interviewed, and management reviewed the incident repeatedly. Monica had requested transparency, and she received a detailed report outlining the steps they had taken: retraining sessions for staff, formal apologies to her and her son, and revised procedures for handling any future concerns regarding children in the community. Monica read through each document carefully. The formal apology from the HOA was thorough, expressing regret for the actions of their employees and acknowledging the fear and harm caused to Ethan. Monica appreciated the effort but remained cautious. Apologies alone did not undo the trauma her son had experienced. She wanted lasting change. The next part of the process involved a meeting with the HOA board members, this time in front of a few witnesses from the community. Monica wanted to ensure accountability was not limited to the staff but reached the highest levels of leadership. She prepared her notes meticulously, organizing points to highlight the importance of transparency, responsibility, and legal compliance. On the day of the meeting, Monica arrived with Ethan, who held her hand tightly. The board members were clearly nervous, knowing that Monica was not just a concerned parent but a federal judge whose reputation and authority demanded respect. She greeted them politely, then spoke directly and firmly. "Thank you all for meeting with me today," Monica began. "We are here to ensure that what happened with my son is fully understood, corrected, and prevented from happening again. Accountability is not about punishment alone, it is about protecting the community, especially the children, and ensuring that every staff member acts responsibly." Monica reviewed the revised procedures, emphasizing areas that were still vague or could be misinterpreted. "Clear rules must be in place," she said. "No child should ever be taken or detained without parental consent. Staff must understand their responsibility and be trained to handle situations with caution and respect. Community leaders must monitor and enforce these standards." One board member attempted to speak, offering excuses about staff misunderstandings. Monica listened politely, then responded with calm authority. "Excuses do not protect children. Policies must be clear, and all members must be accountable. This is about creating a safe environment, not about defending mistakes." After a long discussion, the board members agreed to implement all recommendations, including monthly reviews of community safety procedures and an annual training program for all staff and management. Monica insisted on having oversight of the process, ensuring that the actions promised were not only written but fully executed. Once the meeting ended, Monica felt a quiet sense of accomplishment. She had not only protected her son but had created safeguards for the entire community. As she and Ethan left the boardroom, he looked up at her with admiration. "You were amazing, Mom," he said. "You made sure everyone knew what was right." Monica hugged him tightly. "Thank you, Ethan. But you were amazing too. You stayed brave even when things were scary. Today, you helped make a difference just by being strong and trusting me." In the following weeks, the HOA implemented the changes. Staff members were retrained, procedures were posted for all community members to see, and formal apologies were delivered personally to Monica and Ethan. Monica attended some of the training sessions to ensure they were thorough and meaningful. She spoke to staff about empathy, responsibility, and the importance of protecting children. Her presence left a strong impression. People took her words seriously, understanding that their actions had real consequences. Monica also spoke to other parents in the community, sharing her experience and offering advice on advocacy and safety. She encouraged them to remain vigilant, to question decisions that might put children at risk, and to stand firm when something seemed wrong. Parents listened carefully, appreciating her calm but assertive approach. Her experience became a guide for many, a story of courage and responsible action that others could learn from. Meanwhile, Ethan adjusted to life after the incident. At first, he remained wary of strangers, but with Monica's support, he regained confidence. She spoke to him daily about feelings, about trust, and about how to handle fear. Over time, he learned that while bad things can happen, courage, honesty, and careful thinking could help overcome them. One afternoon, as they were walking home from school, Ethan turned to his mother. "Mom, do you think we really changed things for everyone?" he asked. Monica smiled, looking at her son's hopeful face. "Yes, Ethan. Today, you and I made a difference. Not just for us, but for every child in the community. People will think twice before acting recklessly, and children will be safer because of what we did." Ethan beamed, proud and content. "I want to help people like you, Mom, when I grow up." Monica felt a deep sense of joy and purpose. And you will, Ethan. You will. You already are helping people by being kind, brave, and thoughtful. Never forget that. As the weeks turned into months, Monica's actions became known beyond the local community. The story of how a mother stood up to an entire HOA, ensured the safety of her child, and brought about meaningful change reached local news outlets. Interviews highlighted her composure, professionalism, and unwavering commitment to justice. Yet Monica remained humble, focusing on her son and her community rather than public attention. The HOA, now under scrutiny, continued to implement reforms. Staff turnover and retraining led to a stronger, more responsible team. Policies were updated to prevent future incidents, and community meetings became more transparent. Monica's involvement ensured that children's safety was now a top priority rather than an afterthought. Through this experience, Monica learned new depths of patience, strategy, and resilience. She realized that standing up for what is right often requires persistence and careful planning. It also requires courage, not the kind shown in dramatic moments alone, but the quiet, consistent courage to act fairly, to hold people accountable, and to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Ethan, too, carried lessons from this event. He understood that even when adults make mistakes, it is possible to correct them. He learned the importance of speaking up when something feels wrong and trusting in those who act responsibly. Monica watched him grow stronger, more confident, and more aware of the world around him. One evening, after dinner, Monica sat with Ethan on the porch, watching the sun set over the neighborhood. The air was calm, the events of the past weeks feeling distant yet deeply remembered. Ethan leaned against his mother, a quiet sense of safety surrounding them. "Mom," he said softly, "thank you for protecting me." Monica kissed his forehead gently. "I will always protect you, Ethan. That is my promise. But remember, protecting others and standing up for what is right is something we can all do, no matter how small we are." Ethan nodded, understanding. He knew that courage was not just about strength, but about honesty, care, and action. Monica felt a surge of pride, knowing that she had guided her son not only through fear but into wisdom and understanding. The HOA incident became a turning point for both Monica and her community. It was a story of accountability, of lessons learned, and of safety restored. Children played more freely, parents felt more confident, and staff members knew the weight of their responsibility. Monica's actions had created a ripple effect, improving the lives of many, and ensuring that such mistakes would not be repeated. And at the center of it all, Monica and Ethan thrived. Their bond was stronger than ever, built on trust, courage, and shared experience. Monica knew that no matter what challenges might arise in the future, she had proven to herself and to the world that she could face adversity with wisdom, compassion, and determination. Ethan, once scared and uncertain, now walked confidently beside his mother, understanding that bravery comes in many forms. And Monica, the federal judge, the devoted mother, and the protector of justice, had accomplished something extraordinary. She had turned fear into safety, confusion into clarity, and a dangerous situation into a lasting lesson for an entire community. Together, they moved forward, stronger, safer, and ready for whatever life might bring next, knowing that with courage, planning, and love, no challenge was too great to overcome.